Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you decided to join me on this holiday weekend. I'm surprised any of you guys are even awake, but it is the holiday weekend, and I'm so glad that you guys are here, and we're going to get things rolling now. Listen, guys, on this special Saturday holiday, and happy holidays to all of you guys. We're all getting into the Christmas spirit. Here's how today's show is going to go. We've picked out 5 topics, and from emails that you guys have emailed into me. Now, how do you email in a topic or a question on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in that subject line, or else I'm not going to see your email. And as always, guys, please make sure to keep those emails to 90 words or less. Now, after that, we're going to go and take your live questions for us today. And I think I'm going to get through these first 5 topics pretty quick. So I'm going to go to all live questions and for the second half of the show, and then we will go for there. 2 ways to get your questions on. One is to use Super Chat. That guarantees your question gets on the show. The second way is Twitter, and I think we're probably going to have time for Twitter questions today. So you're just going to fire in questions to me on Twitter, just simply at John Campea, but I'll give you the instructions for that a little bit later. Okay. With all that out of the way, I want to mention that I was going to do a companion video for yesterday's John Campea Show with all the questions that came in that I didn't get a chance to answer. However, I just simply flat ran out of time. I did 3 other videos yesterday. I just flat out ran out of time. So I will do a follow-up, that companion video today. That will go up later today because I do have a little bit of extra time today, so I'll get that done. And with that, let's get on to the first topic. The first topic today comes to us from Patreon supporter Ali Hussein, who writes, "Hey John, love your show. Thank you so much, Ali. Netflix just greenlit the Bright sequel, and Will Smith is returning. I checked the reviews, and it's not good. Why does Netflix rush with the sequel? The movie came out today. I don't understand that. Love to hear your thoughts." All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And something that we got to keep in mind here is that while Bright is a movie, it's not a traditional movie in the sense that Netflix needs to make box office on it. So, and I guarantee you this, they plan to make a sequel for Bright before Comic-Con. Like the moment they greenlit Bright to even produce it, they planned on doing a sequel. They were going to do a sequel no matter what to Bright. No matter if it was the best movie ever made, no matter if it was the worst piece of garbage ever made, they were going to do a sequel to Bright. Now, as far as the critic reviews for it go, they're kind of all over the place in a sense. Now, they're broken into thirds. About 2/3 of the critics don't like the film. About 1/3 of the critics do like the film. I am kind of, if you saw my review, you know I'm kind of in between. I'm a little bit in the middle. Because on one hand, the setup of the world in Bright, I think is fantastic. The way they set up this world where it's 3 races, orcs, humans, and elves. Although they mention in the movie like a battle of 9 races, and I don't know what the other races are. But anyway, so you've got this world that's orcs, humans, and elves. You've got the different society ranks. You got like orcs are the lower class, humans are the middle class, elves are the higher class. You're introducing a world that's in our modern context, so it doesn't feel all that alien, which makes it feel even stranger. And then the whole mythology of magic wands and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of good things in there setting up the movie. There's a mythology and world building that they do here that I think is really great. And I thought Nick Jacoby, the orc character, played by, I'm forgetting, Joel Edgerton. Played by Joel Edgerton. I thought the character was great. I really did. Will Smith was Will Smith. Will Smith is kind of like Kevin Hart in these kinds of movies. Will Smith's a very gifted actor. And he can play lots of different types of roles. But when he's in these kinds of movies, he tends to default back to this one same character. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That might be what was best for this movie. So that's on the one hand. But on the other hand, I did think the execution of the movie was pretty piss poor. And there's the third act I thought was weak. I thought the third act of Bright was very, very weak. And, you know, I don't want to go into any spoilers. But so, yeah, 2/3 don't like it, about 1/3 like it. And I'm somewhere in between those two groups, really. But again, we need to keep in mind that Netflix didn't need this to be a box office smash because it's not in the box office. They built this world and spent all this money on this movie because they knew they were going to get 2 or 3 or 4 movies out of it. And here's the thing. even though I wasn't thrilled with Bright, and I'm not thrilled with it, I thought it was okay overall. They did some things great, they did some things not so great. The reason that even though I'm not thrilled with Bright, that I'm excited to see a part 2 is because of all the things they did well. They created a world and an atmosphere and an environment and a context that makes me want to see more stories in that world. And if you bring along Jacoby and you bring along Ward, the two main characters, you bring them along in that story, I'm totally fine with that. I just hope that when they do make a sequel to this, they do a better job with their narrative, because it needs to be done better. You did a great job setting up the world, but you needed to execute a better story, to be honest with you. But, so yeah, even though I'm not thrilled with it, I'm excited for a sequel, and that's why Netflix did, because Netflix needs to justify all that money they spent on this movie. They needed to get multiple pieces of content out of it. And we'll see how that all transpires. And I'd be curious, if you guys saw Bright, jump into the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of Bright. I'd be curious to see your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Linus Knight. And Linus Knight writes, it looks like we're not going to get Nova or Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 officially. James Gunn replied to a fan's Instagram post, mine, when asked if they would be in it to avoid fan disappointment. Question, since James Gunn officially says, stayed? I think you meant stated, we won't get Warlock or Nova in Part 3. Is this a terrible idea by Gunn? All right, so Linus, thanks a lot for sending the question. And here's the tweet, or here's the social message that Linus sent to James Gunn for your reference, and the reply that James Gunn gave him. So Linus wrote to James Gunn, I hope for all your fans' sake that we get a good Volume 3 with Nova as Guardians of the Galaxy ally and Warlock as the big bad. Anything less will be a huge disappointment, and I just want everyone, including you, James, to be happy. In reply, James Gunn writes, Linus, you're not gonna get that. Okay, so first of all, let's look at a couple things here. Number one, it is very possible here that when James Gunn says you're not going to get that, he's not necessarily talking about you're not going to get Warlock or you're not going to get Nova. He might be referring to that last part you said, I just want everyone to be happy. And James Gunn says you're not going to get that. And if that's what James is talking about, he's absolutely right. Nothing this movie can do, or any movie can do, nothing any DC movie can do, any Marvel movie can do, any Star Wars movie can do, will make everybody happy. That's just can't happen. That's impossible. It's not going to happen ever. So with that out of the way, there is a possibility here that James is just referring to the last part of your statement, and that he very well could be using Nova and Warlock moving forward in the movies. Totally. Okay, so let's then assume for a second, for the sake of discussion, let's assume for a second that he is saying that you're not going to get that. You're not going to get Nova and you're not going to get Warlock. Linus, my fellow film fan, you are dead wrong. Nobody cares if those characters are in this movie. Nobody cares. In the sense that anything less than 10% is nobody. And I guarantee you 90% of the movie-going audience have no flippin' idea who Adam Warlock is. They just don't. No, 90% of the average movie-going audience has no idea who Nova is at all. So understanding that 90% of the movie-going audience don't even know who these characters are and don't give a flip about them, when you say, for all the fans' sake, you need to have Warlock, and that anything less will be a huge disappointment for everybody. Linus, you're dead wrong, my brother. You're dead wrong on that. Nobody gives a shit. I mean, again, when I say nobody, I mean anything less than 10% is basically saying nobody cares. Nobody cares. Is there like 3% of hardcore fans out there who understand the source material and know the original comics and know all that stuff? Will they care? Yes, they will. Absolutely. But we've got to step out of our own bubble and realize at minimum, 9 out of every 10 people who walk out of the movie theater have no idea and have never heard of Adam Warlock or have ever heard of Nova, and they don't care. So you see, while you may be disappointed, and that's totally cool, and while there's like 3 or 4% of the audience out there that may be disappointed, maybe even strongly disappointed, I'm not taking that away from you at all. Absolutely, you're right. But to take that number and then say, for the fans to be happy, or else you got to have these characters and no one's going to be happy with it. Like, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. I know who those characters are, and I don't care if they're in it or not. If James Gunn decides to use them, great. If he decides to not use them, great. The main responsibility is for James to make a great movie. And it doesn't matter if you put a great comic book character in it. That doesn't make your movie any better. We've seen great comic book characters used in bad movies. We've also seen minor, insignificant comic book characters used in movies that ended up being great. It's all about what serves the movie. And if James Gunn has a plan for his Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that does not include Warlock or does not include Nova, you don't build your movie around that. You go with what your story is. And that's the most important thing. Are there some of us out here who would very much like to see Nova in there? Yes, I'm one of them. I'd like to see it. Are there those of us out there who would like to see Adam Warlock in it? Yes, I'm one of them. I'd like to see it. But if you're going to ask me, is it a terrible idea to not put them in? No, not at all. They weren't in the first movie, and the first movie was spectacular. So you can make great Guardians of the Galaxy movies without them. Let's just let James Gunn do what he wants to do. This whole thing about what we as fans do sometimes here, Linus, is that we as fans, you're guilty of it, I'm guilty of it, everybody watching this is guilty of it from time to time, is we create constructs in our head that a filmmaker has to do what I'm thinking in my head or else this movie's not going to work. And that's just not true. That's completely not true. Otherwise, you would be a multi-billion-dollar Hollywood film producer. So would I. And it just doesn't work like that. So, are there some of us who would like them? Yep. Do the vast, vast, vast majority of the movie-going audience give two shits if Warlock or Nova are in the next Guardians of the Galaxy? Nope. They don't. So let's just see, all we can ask of James Gunn is to make the best movie you can, man. Because when he's firing in all cylinders, James Gunn is one of the most crowd-pleasing directors in the world when he's firing in all cylinders. We've seen that with movies like Slither. We've seen it with Guardians of the Galaxy. When he's on his game, he's one of the best out there at making really fan entertainment movies. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and let's see him do his thing. Appreciate the question, Linus. All right, the next question comes to us from Jack. And Jack writes, "Hey, John, big fan. Thank you so much, Jack. My question is, if Avengers Infinity War is a huge success, is there any way the Oscars cannot award it something? It's gonna be a revolutionary movie." Well, thanks a lot for the question, Jack. And based on what, brother? Infinity War is going to be a revolutionary movie. It's a movie about an alien bad guy attacking Earth and some Earth heroes have to stop them. That ain't revolutionary. I mean, I love Marvel. Everybody knows I love Marvel and I love the MCU and everything, but what's revolutionary about this? I mean, could it come out and could it do some things that totally, like, blow our minds and do things way outside of the genre that we never expect? Yeah, it's possible. Every movie, the new Sherlock Gnomes movie coming out could do that. I mean, it's possible. Could it happen with Infinity War? Yes. But just on the surface as fans, can we go, and you know me, Infinity War, somebody asked me the question, if I could only watch one movie that's coming out in 2018, what movie is it? And I said Infinity War. So that's where I'm coming from. So you know I'm looking forward to it. But this notion that it's going to be a revolutionary movie, well, wait a minute. Revolutionary in what way? I mean, it's a comic book superhero movie with a big bad alien coming to attack Earth and the heroes got to try to stop him. I mean, you can name 15 movies off the top of your head with that exact same premise, right? And so can I. I mean, will it be great? Sure, I'm sure it's going to be great. I have a lot of faith that's going to be a very, very good movie. But when you're asking the question, is there any way... Well, first of all, you said, if it's really successful, is there any way the Academy Awards can't give it something? Something we got to understand. The Academy voters don't give 2 squirts of urine if a movie makes money or not. They don't care. Just look throughout the history of the Oscars. The Oscars, and nor should they. The Academy Award voters do not care if a movie makes money. That's irrelevant. Their job is to award excellence. What was the best at this particular category? And, like, for instance, like, let's take visual effects. Visual effects is something that I'm sure Infinity War would be up for. But guess what? Like, if War for the Planet of the Apes came out next year, then Infinity War wouldn't come close to winning Best Visual Effects. Wouldn't come close. And Han Solo is being done by ILM. I mean, ILM is doing the visual effects on Han Solo, so whether or not Han Solo is a good movie or not, you know Han Solo is going to be in the running for best visual effects at a movie. Just will be. You don't give awards out. So if it's excellent, is there any way the Academy Award cannot give it something? Damn right there is. There's a high chance it won't give the movie anything. It all comes down to its merits. Does it deserve best musical score? I doubt it. I haven't heard an MCU score that has really impressed me yet. And I love the MCU, but I have not heard an MCU music score to a movie and soundtrack that's really impressed me yet. So I doubt that. Will it win best costuming? Well, there's going to be a lot of movies that have fantastic costuming, so I don't know that we can say that. So is there a way that Avengers Infinity War can be a big success and not win anything? Actually, the odds are that it won't. Winning Oscars is one of the most impossible things to do. So, and then, you know, out of nowhere, like Suicide Squad won an Oscar, but it won an Oscar in a specific category. In a specific category that it kind of deserved to win. So it won that category. Even though a lot of people hate the movie, that's irrelevant. You're talking about a specific category. And did Suicide Squad do the best in that one category, regardless of how good or bad the rest of the movie is? That's what they're voting on. And if it does, it wins. So, yeah, I'd say there's a very big chance that Infinity War doesn't win any Oscars, because it's nearly impossible to do it. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Came the Dawn, who writes, can you please comment on the backlash against The Last Jedi being exposed as fake? 1. IndieWire reported that the alt-right claimed credit for the backlash against The Last Jedi. 2. Fans polled on alternative sites rated The Last Jedi at 89%. 3. The bots accidentally attacked the wrong page, Shape of Water. Okay, first of all, let me say this. There is legitimate backlash against The Last Jedi, because there are people out there who really just didn't like the movie because they didn't like it. So, no, the backlash against The Last Jedi has not been exposed as fake. It has not, because there is real backlash. Trust me, I read my email every day. Now, granted, the vast majority of emails I get every day, and I get hundreds a day, about The Last Jedi are positive about The Last Jedi, but I do get a good number of them too that are also negative against The Last Jedi. The backlash against The Last Jedi is not fake. Is the degree of the backlash being severely exaggerated? Yes, but it's not fake. You know, it's still a funny conversation that I still have with people about, you know, the Rotten Tomatoes one, because we've already established there are groups that have organized their own groups to make sure they go and downvote it on one particular site and all that kind of stuff. But here's an interesting thing. One of the biggest poll companies online is a company called SurveyMonkey. And they're one of the most popular, most highly used survey tools on the web. And this was a big headline on Mashable the other day. So SurveyMonkey did their own independent poll. And they polled 5,000 people, roughly, I think it was roughly 5,000. I could be, give or take a few hundred. They independently polled 5,000 people about The Last Jedi. And 89% responded positively to The Last Jedi. 89%. So that's an independent, separate poll done by a polling company. And they found that The Last Jedi got an 89%. You go to CinemaScore, it got an A. You go to IMDb, it's got close to an 80% on IMDb. And IMDb registers its votes the same way Rotten Tomatoes does. Rotten Tomatoes is around a 54 or 55, somewhere around there, something like that. But it is funny to me when people who try to make the case that there is a bigger group of people out there than there really are attacking The Last Jedi, they always point to Rotten Tomatoes. I said, okay, well, wait a second. Why are you only selecting the Rotten Tomatoes one? Why don't you talk about the CinemaScore? Why don't you talk about the independent surveys? Why don't you talk about the IMDb score? Because you know me, I think we should throw all the audience stuff away. I don't care about the IMDb one, audience rating. I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes one, audience rating. I say throw them all away. But if you're going to try to reference the Rotten Tomatoes one, why are you ignoring the IMDb one that registers their votes the same way, but it has close to 80%? Why are you ignoring CinemaScore that actually is the only reliable one because they actually physically are there at cinemas surveying people as they come out of the movies, verifying they've seen the movies, verifying they're only voting once? Why are you ignoring? Why do you pick and choose which audience score to make your case? Like, if you're going to take in the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, which I don't think you should, then you have to take in the IMDb one, which I don't think you should either. But if you're going to take one, you got to take the other. And it's close to 80%. You got to take CinemaScore. You got to take the independent surveys. Why are you picking and choosing? So, but the reality is this. All of us have a nature. We all do this. You do it, I do it. So let's not just point at other people. This is something we all do. Is we will try to pick and choose the facts that best support our own narrative. We will try to pick and choose which facts we want to use to support our own story. And here's the thing, I have 100% confidence in this. If the Rotten Tomatoes audience rating was at, say, 80%, and IMDb's audience rating was at 50%, then a lot of these people would be pointing and screaming about the IMDb page, saying, see, audiences, there's a huge backlash. Audiences didn't like it because look at the IMDb. They'd ignore the Rotten Tomatoes one, and they would be drawing all the attention to IMDb. If both the IMDb one and the Rotten Tomatoes one were great, and the CinemaScore was like a B-, everybody would be pointing at, which for CinemaScore, B- is very bad. Would be pointing at the CinemaScore and going, see, everybody hates this movie. And they ignored the other two. That's just the reality. My thing is that if you're going to take any of them, you have to take all of them. And if you're going to take all of them, yes, the Rotten Tomatoes one is low for several reasons, but is low. But the CinemaScore one is high, the IMDb one is high, the independent surveys are high, so you can't just cherry pick out the one that you want and try to base your whole argument around it. And that's just what I've been trying to tell people. It's like, bleh. But let's not pretend. Like, yes, there is a new group out there. There's an alt-right group that, and we know that there are alt-right groups that have been organizing their followers to go and downvote the movie because it's got a black guy in it, because it's got an Asian woman in it, because it has a female lead. So they organize people to go and downvote it. Okay. We already know that happens. We know that for a fact. But this claim about, like, and this one alt-right group is taking responsibility, claiming that they created a bot attack. Well, look, it's just like I said about that Facebook group that claimed to do a bot attack. It's just somebody trying to get attention. Rotten Tomatoes had a security firm do an analysis, and their findings is that they do not believe there was any bot attacks. They believe that, yes, fake people are coming and registering votes, but they're not bots. Okay? And so I think the same thing is true of this alt-right claim. This alt-right group that's claiming that they created bot attacks. Look, I've read some of the stuff from this alt-right group, and I don't think they have enough brain cells put together to open a letter, let alone program an advanced bot attack. Okay, so I do not believe the bot attack theory. I don't believe that at all. I don't care how many people come out and claim responsibility saying, we created bot attacks to attack Last Jedi. I don't believe them. I think it's just more people trying to get attention. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe any of us should. Unless the Rotten Tomatoes security firm came back and said, yeah, we were hit with like 100,000 requests in the same minute. It was clearly a bot attack, blah, blah, blah. Unless that happens, I don't believe it for a second. There are people downvoting it for the wrong reasons. Absolutely there are. But this bot attack theory, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all because I don't believe these people. Like, I think some of these people barely have, like, what I'm talking about is these people who are claiming responsibility. I doubt these particular individuals, I think they have a hard time just logging onto the internet, to be honest with you, let alone programming bot attacks. So that's just my thought on that. So not that there aren't incredibly intelligent people out there who dislike this movie who would, sure. I'm just saying that these people that I'm reading that claim to have created these bot attacks, I highly doubt that these people have college degrees. All right, let's just leave it at that. So I'm not even concerned about that at all. So no, I do not buy the bot attack theory. All right, let's move on to the final email question of the day, and then we'll move on to the live questions. And this final email question today comes to us from Andrew Costello, who writes, huge fan, thank you so much. After waiting so long to watch Darkest Hour, I was disappointed to find that there is nowhere in my state playing it, and I cannot find it on any streaming service. Yet it seems that the few places in America playing it had sold out theaters and had to put on extra shows. Why such a limited release? All right. Well, first of all, Andrew, double check your listings, because as of yesterday, Darkest Hour went into wider release. Yeah, it was in very limited release. It was in like 17 theaters or something like that. Some really low number like that for a while. But it has increased its release as of yesterday. It's now in over 800 theaters in the country. So I would encourage you, check your listings now, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find a movie theater playing close to you that is playing Darkest Hour. That should be available somewhere close to you now. Now, the whole thing about, well, why do they put in such limited release? Because a lot of times with these, like Oscar movies, what they want to do is they'll roll them out slowly. Because let's face it, Darkest Hour, a movie about Winston Churchill, is not going to be a big blockbuster. I mean, it's just not. No matter how good it is, no matter how great Gary Oldman is, and I think right now the Academy Award for Best Actor is Gary Oldman's to lose. I think he's got to be considered the front runner in this. But it was never going to be a blockbuster. So what a lot of studios do with some of their movies is they do a slow rollout in limited release. And what they try to do is get big audience positive word of mouth buzzing about it, and then have big positive audience buzz already in place when they do their wide release, or at least when they do their expanded release. That is often a strategy that these studios will employ, and I think that's clearly one that they wanted to employ for Darkest Hour. They felt that they had a chance of making more money if they do a small limited release, let positive word of mouth generate, and then do a wider release a few weeks later, than if they just did a wide release without the backing of huge positive word of mouth from audiences. So that's probably why they did it. That's probably why a lot of these places, a lot of these studios will do this with these smaller films. And yeah, and I love Darkest Hour. It's going to end up in my top 3 favorite movies of the year. It may even, I still think Logan's #1 to me, but it may even replace Logan for me as #1. I adored this movie. I ate it up, every second of it. I love this movie. And if you should get out and see it. I think you're going to enjoy it if you're a fan of film. Okay, that will do it for the emailed in questions today. Now it's time to go on to the live questions. But before we get to the live questions, it's the holiday season, and it's time for me to stop and do my 1-minute commercial break where I do my admittedly shameless plug of the thing that keeps the lights on around here, my Patreon campaign. So here, 1 minute of my shameless plug. Check this out. For those of you who have followed me for any period of time, you guys know that I made the decision recently to leave the corporate overlords. I no longer wanted to work for corporations. I wanted to be an independent content creator. And the only way I've been able to do that is by the support of my Patreon supporters. So what I would like to do is to ask you guys who watch my shows, who spend any amount of time with me every single month, to consider going over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what exactly does it mean to be a Patreon supporter of mine? What does being a Patreon supporter do for helping to make sure that shows like this one and all the other shows I do here on my channel can actually be produced? And on top of that, what benefits are there to being a Patreon supporter? And maybe if you guys can check that out, if you decide you want to be one of my Patreon supporters, that would be awesome. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I'm just happy that you guys have decided to be here today and be a fellow movie fan and join us in the conversation. So go and check out the website, see if you want to become a Patreon supporter. And now let's get back. All right, guys, thank you so much. And a special thank you to all of you guys who are already Patreon supporters of mine. You guys truly are the reason that this page even exists right now. And many, many thanks to you. And the future of this channel is thanks to you guys. So thanks again. All right, let's get going here and move on to the live questions. We're going to start with the super chats that have come in. And oh, that's not the super chat at all. All right, we're going to go to the super chats that come in. And Volushkin just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Volushkin. Andrew Gifford writes in, Episode 9 could begin with Leia's funeral. That's been a theory, but that would be a smack in the face to the character of Leia. Are you kidding me? Leia, one of the triumvirate of the most important Star Wars characters of all time, and you're going to have her die off screen? That to me is insulting. I mean, you're not insulting it, Andrew. That is a theory that's going around. You're not the only one to have that theory, absolutely. And it is a possibility that I could do. I am just passionately against them doing that. To me, that is not how you end the Leia character. You cannot end the Leia character with Leia dying off screen. You can't do it. You just can't. So I still say, you know my passionate position on this. You recast Leia. It is the only way to properly honor the character, and the only way to properly honor Carrie Fisher is to recast this character and bring the Leia character across the finish line with Episode 9. It's the only way to properly do honor and homage to both the character of Leia and the actress who's portrayed her whole life, Carrie Fisher. It's the only way to properly honor them. It's the only way. I will be pissed off at anything else. Now, I'm saying that, but maybe they come up with a great way to really handle it, and that's fine. But starting Episode 9 with Leia's funeral, no, you do not do that. That would be terrible in my opinion. All right, thanks a lot, Andrew. The next one comes to us from Stevan Gonzalez, who writes, favorite arcade game growing up? Mine is Marvel vs. Capcom. I think my favorite video game, there was this terrible wrestling video game at the time, and I just remember one of the wrestlers' name was Coco, and his big move was was headbutting. And I just remember that's all I would do. There was a flaw in the game, because if you were this character Coco and just did headbutts the whole time, you would win the match, like almost every time, and I would just keep going and going and going and going and going. That was my favorite arcade game growing up. What would be another big arcade game that I loved? I mean, Street Fighter was big when I was younger, so, I mean, Street Fighter was definitely one of them, too. But, yeah, it was that, and I'm forgetting the name of the game, the wrestling game, but that's the one I liked a lot. Velushkin writes, hey, John, am I crazy for wanting a Star Wars Force Unleashed movie? No, there's a lot of people who want that. I mean, it's not canon, and it contradicts a lot of what the new canon is. So you can't do it the way it is properly. But there are a lot of fans of Force Unleashed that would love to see a Force Unleashed movie. So, no, you're not crazy, and you're certainly not alone either in that thought. Andy A. Hernandez writes, every time I rewatch the Avengers Infinity War trailer and the person talk in the trailer gives me goosebumps. Well, first of all, Andy, I also love that trailer. I love watching that trailer. It's not revolutionary, but I love the trailer. I'm not quite sure what you mean, though, when you say the person talk in the trailer gives me goosebumps. I'm not really sure what it is you're talking about in that, so I can't comment on that. But I totally agree with you. Watching that trailer does give me goosebumps. I love that trailer. I cannot wait for this movie. All right, next one. Hardboiled Entertainment writes, hey, John, did you see Kevin Smith's discussion regarding Justice League Snyder rough cut? If so, your thoughts. Seems villain was better, and it paid off the Batman vs. Superman ending. I have not seen Kevin Smith's discussion on that, so I can't really comment on that. Now, I also know Kevin Smith really loved Justice League on its as it is, so there's that to keep in mind. And I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, but since I have not seen his commentary, but still remember this: whatever Kevin Smith says, he's just another fan who's giving his opinion about the movie. And you know I hold Kevin Smith in very high regard. But no matter what it is he says, positively or negatively about Justice League, he's just another film fan just giving his opinion. And there's a lot of those out there. But, I mean, it's still Kevin Smith, so I bet him giving his opinion is a lot more entertaining than me giving mine. So I will check it out. I will see if I can find those comments. Thanks a lot. All right. Ben Rayner writes, would you say J.K. was born to play J. Jonah Jameson? Would he make your trinity of Mount Rushmore? No. I love J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah. And you know me, I'm like, if you reboot something, you just get new character. You get new actors. There are few exceptions. And the one exception I would make is if J.K. came back as J. Jonah for the new Spider-Man Homecoming films. If you got J.K. back with that, I would be okay with that. Now, that's the one exception I would make. But no, he's great as J. Jonah, but does he belong up there with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, with Hugh Jackman as Logan? No. I wouldn't put him on that. I wouldn't put the character in that level, but I certainly love him as the character. Absolutely. All right. Manuel Fernandez writes, people say the summer box office shows less people go to theaters now, but don't films like Split, Coco, Wonder, Get Out, The Big Sick, Happy Death Day, etc. show people still enjoy going to the theaters and seeing original films? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Completely. I completely agree with you. And yes, are there some, like, when you look at certain numbers, does it show that there are fewer people coming out to the theaters? Yes. And the theater industry, in cooperation with the movie studios, have to start to address these issues. Not they got to stop asking the question, how do we make more money? They have to start asking the question, how do we get more people enticed to come back to the theater? Or more than ever before? These are the questions they need to ask. They got to stop asking, how can we maximize revenue? I understand it's a business. You want to maximize revenue, but that is short-term thinking. You got to think long-term. And the best way long-term to maximize revenue is to stop asking, how do we maximize revenue right now? And you got to start asking, how do we entice the audience to come back to the movie theaters in bigger numbers than ever before? Those are the questions they need to be asking. Because it just seems like every time we're seeing like discussions about making changes to the industry, it's all revolves around maximizing revenue right now. And when you make decisions, all your decisions about maximizing revenue right now, you are getting a short-term bump, but a long-term deficit. You're getting a long-term deficit. And we're seeing that playing out. We're seeing the box office hit bigger numbers than ever before, yet movie attendance is going down. That is not a trend you can keep going. Yeah, maybe the other year was the biggest box office biggest box office for the year in history. But the overall people who came went down. That means you found ways to maximize your revenue, but you're losing the fan base. Maybe slowly, but it is surely. And you can't go year after year after year, just keep doing the same thing. Well, let's just find new ways to maximize revenue and continue to lose fan base, because at some point it's going to catch up to you and it's going to bite you in the ass unless you start addressing it now. And that's what they need to do. They need to start addressing this stuff right now. Anyway, thanks a lot for the question, Manuel. All right, next one comes to us from Creative Channel, who writes, did you buy the big Optimus Prime statue? No, I did not. For those of you who do not know what he's talking about, let me see if I can pull it up here just for fun. I doubt that I can, but let me see if I can. So last night, I'll pull up a couple of pictures here just for fun. Last night, Anne and I and our friends Kaori and CJ and Sol and Ryan, we all went over to Universal Studios. Let me get this a little bit bigger for you so you can get a bigger look at it here. This is just some of the pictures that we took. So last night we went to Universal Studios, and first of all, look at that picture of Hogwarts at the bottom. First of all, that castle is huge, and they did this light show on it that was just spectacular and beautiful. And we went there last night and had a really good time, and everything was fun. Now, while there, I went into this Transformers area, this store that has Transformers stuff. And this picture doesn't give you a good sense of just how big this Optimus Prime statue is, but it's huge. It's a huge Optimus Prime statue. Now, here's the other thing. Let me see if I can get this. This is the key part. I'm going to try to zoom in on it. Okay, I'm going to try zooming in on it here. The price of this thing was $3,655. It's monstrous. It's beautiful. But no, and I put up on Twitter last night, I put up this thing that said, oh my gosh, guys, you have no idea how tempted I am to buy this. And I put up this picture on Twitter of that particular statue. But no, I first of all, I don't have that kind of money. I can just drop $4,000 to buy a toy, okay? No matter how beautiful and gorgeous it was, and it is beautiful and gorgeous. But no, Creative Channel, I did not end up buying that Optimus Prime thing. But thank you for asking. I appreciate the call back to my social media. All right, let's keep going here. The next one comes to us from Ben Rayner, who writes, as of now, what is Boba Fett's first canon appearance? Is it episode 4, A New Hope? As of right now, yeah, episode 4. No. Boba Fett's first canon appearance is episode 2, is Attack of the Clones. Because that's when we meet him as a kid. So officially, canon-wise, the first time we meet Boba Fett is in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, if you wanted to go non-canon, the first appearance of Boba Fett is in Star Wars The Holiday Special. Star Wars The Holiday Special was actually the first public appearance of the character Boba Fett. that Luke Skywalker just kept referring to him as Boba, Boba. Anyway, so in Star Wars, the infamous Star Wars The Holiday Special, there's a good piece of Star Wars trivia for you. The first public appearance of Boba Fett wasn't in any of the movies. It was in the Star Wars Holiday Special. But as far as canon goes, it's Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, I believe, off the top of my head. All right, let's keep going here. Andy Hernandez writes, do you know we will still be getting a Conjuring 3? Oh, yes, Conjuring 3 is happening. Make no mistake about it, Conjuring 3 is happening, especially after all of the lawsuit stuff has just been getting settled now. All the lawsuit stuff is now settled. I did a big segment on that on the John Campea Show last week or something like that. So, yeah, Conjuring 3 will be coming. Avilar writes, hey, John, happy holiday. Thank you so much. Thoughts on The Last Jedi's box office and projected $107 to $110 million holiday weekend? Seems like it's doing fine to me. Well, no, look. First of all, if you take the proper weekend, I do believe... Look, I made a video the other week that Star Wars is going to take a greater than a 60% drop. For several reasons, including it's just too big of a number it needs to make, competition, some of the backlash, things like that, right? And by the way, the competition is stiff and heavy. Because you got Pitch Perfect 2, or 3, and the last Pitch Perfect made $70 million in its opening weekend. People are going to go watch Jumanji. There are people who are going to go watch The Greatest Showman. You're talking about a lot of the box office, potential box office dollars are going to be eaten up by some of the competition. There's no denying that, and there's no getting around that. That's just the way it is. It's going to take a big drop. So a proper drop, I still believe, is going to be over 60%. But get this. Even if it drops like 65, 70%, which is terrible. But if it drops 65 or 70%, guess what? Star Wars The Last Jedi would still be the 6th all-time biggest second weekend box office movie in history. Wrap your heads around that. Even if it took a 70% drop this coming weekend, or we're in the weekend now, I guess. Even if it takes a 70% drop, Star Wars The Last Jedi is still going to be the 6th biggest all-time second weekend box office movie in history. That's the kind of money and dollar signs we're talking about. That's the type of audience rush that people are having to go out and see this movie. So even if it takes that big of a drop against all this competition, against this perceived backlash, against all this kind of stuff, it's still going to end up being minimum the 6th biggest all-time box office movie on its second weekend. That says a lot about a franchise and the health of a franchise. Anyway, all right, thanks a lot for the comment, man. Next one comes to us from Francisco R., who writes, hey, John, I would like to know, since when does Flash, Superman, and Wonder Woman have the same speed? Also, why Flash kept tripping over something? Well, remember, I think in the movie, Flash is still supposed to be relatively new in his power. I don't think Flash has been the Flash for 10 years. You know what I mean? I still think he's relatively a new superhero in the Justice League. As far as, since when is, Wonder Woman is not as fast as the Flash. Let's get that straight. She's also not as fast as Superman. But there have been, for decades ago, there were comic books about Flash and Superman having a foot race. That whole post-credit scene in Justice League, this is why so many of us freaked out when they had that post-credit scene in Justice League with Flash and Superman doing the race. It's because that harkens all the way back to some classic comic books, like going back decades and decades and decades of Flash versus Superman in a foot race. That's always been a big question. Who's faster, Flash or Superman? Now, I think in modern comic books, I think they answer that question. They say Flash is the fastest. But for a long time, that's been the question. So this is not a brand new question. That's why that last Justice League post-credit scene was so freaking cool. I love that post-credit scene. All right. And I'm just going to ask you guys now, if you have not sent in a super chat, please do not send in super chats anymore. No more super chats. Okay, let's see. This one, hold on a second here. I just got to get thing is there. Sorry, just a little technical issue. Got that all cleared up. This one comes from Tath3Full, who writes, why does Affleck keep talking about doing future DCU movies when we all know he's leaving the franchise? It's confusing. Well, first of all, he hasn't talked about doing future DC movies. Ben Affleck keeps doing what he's been doing, saying vague things. That's all he's doing, and he's continuing to do that. He's not talking about doing future. He's not said, I'm doing this. He's not said that. At this point, you know, I've always said I think there's a 50-50 chance he does one more. And then he's done, for sure. I'm actually starting to think that he will pop up in one more. And I've always said it's 50-50 right from the beginning. For over a year, I said, because he's got one more film on his contract. So if Warner Brothers wants to make him do another one, he's got to do one more. So I think he's just he's playing it professionally. He's being a professional. Like, as of right now, Warner Brothers could require him to come back and do one more film. So what are you going to do? You're going to kick and scream in interviews and say, I don't want to do another one. No, that would be unprofessional, and nobody would want to work with you again if you did that. So I think they still haven't figured that out, if he is indeed doing another one. And if they're going to call in that final film on his contract and make him do it. And if that's still hanging in the air, then you got to do what Ben Affleck is doing. I've been saying this the whole time. Even when Ben Affleck came out on stage and blatantly lied to everybody at Comic-Con and said, are you kidding me? I'm Batman forever. I am Batman. I'm going to keep doing Batman. Matt Reeves directing Batman. I would crawl on the ground and be an ape for Matt Reeves. I remember all that stuff, which completely he's contradicted completely lately. It's like remember back then, oh, no, I'm just not directing it because I want to focus. I don't want my attention to be split on being the director and the actor. I want to focus on my performance. And then recently in the same interview, that just came out, he clarified, nah, and now he's saying, no, I got out of it because the script wasn't where I wanted it to be. Well, weren't you the one working on the script, Ben? Anyway, but even back at Comic-Con, when Ben was on stage blatantly lying to everybody, even then I said, Ben is doing exactly what Ben needs to do. He is doing the professional thing. He is promoting the movie he is in. And he's playing the PR game. And a lot of us some people might get mad at that, and that's fine. Ben Affleck is doing what a professional should do. Keep the dirty laundry in the closet. Don't air it out in front of everybody. And you've got a movie coming out that you're in and that you've been paid well for, you promote that movie. Because if you don't, who's going to want to work with you in the future? So that's to me, Ben hasn't changed a note. Hasn't changed a note. So that's just the way I see it. Thanks a lot for the question, man. All right. The next one comes to us from Chiba666, who writes, supporting Campea with the bare minimum. Thank you, Chiba666. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas, man. Manuel Fernandez writes, what's the best first job in entertainment, film / TV / radio / gaming that I should get to begin my career with? No idea. No idea. If you want to get it, like, every single one of those things is different, and I'm not in the gaming industry, so how would I know? I'm not in the TV industry, so how would I know? I'm not in the radio industry, so how would I know? I'm not in the film industry, other than on the outside of it as a commentator on it. So, honestly, I have no idea. I'm the wrong person to ask. I could give you some kind of advice on that, but it would be, you might as well get advice from my Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. He would be able to give just as much good advice as I could on that, because I'm not in those industries. I have no idea. So you'd have to be a little bit more specific than that, Manuel. So, but thanks for asking. It's just that I have nothing constructive or beneficial to offer on that. All right. John Heen writes, John, you're the man. Thanks for everything. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for sending that in. Volushkin writes, will there be another Planet of the Apes sequel? I don't think so. It's possible. It's possible. But I think, you know, Caesar's story has run its course. Caesar has been the main backbone of these stories. And the box office for the third film took a big tumble. With all that, I doubt that Warner Brothers is rushing to make another sequel. So it's totally possible. I put the over-under at 40%. I think there's a 40% chance they do another sequel, which means it's totally possible, but I wouldn't put my money on it. So my guess would be no, but who knows? We'll wait and see. Let's see. Jose M. writes, John, have you considered incorporating some kind of grading scaler system into your movie reviews, much like Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman? No. Nope. I used to do it, and it's dumb. And I got news for you. I've talked to Jeremy Johns. Jeremy Johns has also considered just tossing his review system, his scaling system. Why? Because nobody knows how to interpret them. And I used to do movies on a scale of 1 to 10. I used to do No-Go Ralph, but here's the problem. And I've talked about this before. When I give a movie a 7 out of 10, to me, that is a solid score. That's 3 points away from perfection, right? And I've only given like 7 or 8 10 out of 10s in my entire career. And so a 7 out of 10 to me is a solid score. So I'll go, I'll watch a movie, I'll really enjoy it, I'll think it's a solid film, and I'll go, yeah, I recommend you do blah, blah, blah. I give this movie a 7 out of 10. And then inevitably, what would happen every single time, I get flooded with emails and tweets. Oh, John, why'd you hate the movie? You gave it a 7 out of 10. That means you hated it. Oh my gosh, John, what went wrong with that movie? 7 out of 10. That's terrible. What went wrong with it? Why was it so bad? It's like, what are you talking about? That's 3 points away from perfect. What are you talking about bad? Here's the thing. Scaling systems are completely useless unless everybody is on the same page about what a movie means. And we live in a culture today, especially online, where it's the 10 culture. Somebody even remotely likes a movie. Oh, 10, 10, 10, 10. It gets a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Somebody remotely doesn't like a movie. 0, I didn't like that movie. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's the online knee-jerk reactionist culture we kind of live in right now. Everything's a perfect 10 or an absolute 0. And so, you come out with like a 7 and people say, why'd you hate that? This movie was at least a 9.5. It's like, well, I mean, according to your definition about what a 9.5 is, maybe. But no. So it became pointless. So if people aren't on the same page, what's the value? What's the point of me giving a numerical score to a movie? And I did that for a long time. I gave numerical scores for a movie, but all it ended up doing was causing confusion and division because everybody has different ideas about what a score should mean. People, I give something a 7 and say that's good. People, well, John, that's a C. This isn't a report card. No, it's not a C. The way I do 1 to 10, 7 is 3 points away from perfection. It's good and it's solid, and it's just, I ended up finally abandoning it. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to review movies and tell people what I think about it. And then not give them a way to misinterpret what I said. So I can do a review and say, hey, I really like this. It had this little problem and this little problem, but I really like the way they did this, this, and this. I highly recommend this movie. Now, if I add on to that, I give it a 7 out of 10. Then they will take in their minds, 7 out of 10 means bad, and they'll throw away everything I just said about the movie. So I decided, you know what, the best way to do this, and just for me, I'm not saying other critics need to do this at all, but for me, the best way to do a review is just tell people what I thought about the movie and not try to put it down into a single tweet, 3 characters or less, like little nugget by saying 8 out of 10, 4 out of 10. No, I want to explain what I thought about a movie and why I think about it that way, and that's my review. Now, you can take what I say and ascribe your own number to it if you want, but I just decided that it's pointless to have a number system when every single person out there will interpret that number differently. Then there's no value to giving it a number in the first place. Anyway, again, that's just what I did for me. That's not me taking a shot at anybody else or any other critic that have numerical systems that they give to their movies. That's perfectly fine. That works for them. I just found for me, it was just a source of frustration that didn't help anybody. So anyway, there's that. Oh, and here's the other thing that would happen a lot. I would say, I would know sometimes, like, there'd be some other critics, and I know I liked this movie more than another critic, right? So, but I give it my score, but they do their scoring differently. Like, to them, a 7 out of 10 doesn't mean the same thing that a 7 out of 10 does for me. So I can like a movie more than that guy, but that guy might give it an 8. Oh, then everybody will look and say, oh, well, that critic liked the movie more than you, John. And I'll go, no, he didn't. They'll go, well, he gave it an 8 out of 10. That means he liked it more than you because you gave it a 7. And it's like, yeah, but he gives 8s to things. He has a different scale. To him, what deserves an 8 is different from what I think deserves an 8. I actually like the movie more than he did, but he gave it an 8. And it's like, so, you know what? I'm just going to avoid all that confusion and just not give numerical scores. Anyway. Next question comes to us from Amy Singh, who writes, if Infinity War is a huge box office and critical success, with The Last Jedi being a bit divisive, does Avengers 4 have a chance to beat 9? I still don't think so. I still don't think Infinity War has any prayer of beating Star Wars Episode 9. Could be wrong about that. Could be wrong. I mean, look, movie franchises are a lot more like sports than non-sports fans care to admit. Momentum is a real thing. Momentum is a very real thing. It's not a universal law, It doesn't work 100% of the time. But momentum is real. And if, let's say, Infinity War comes out, and let's say it is one of the best films of the year. Let's say it gets Academy Award nominations in the major categories, like actor or actress or script or best picture or something like that. And it's huge success with all the fans, with all the critics, with everything. That's major momentum. That is some major momentum. Let's say Solo comes out, because Solo is going to be the last Star Wars universe movie before Star Wars Episode 9. Let's say Solo comes out and completely underwhelms people. Let's say the critics are on it, audiences meh on it, it's, whatever. So you have momentum for Avengers going like this, and you have momentum for Star Wars stagnating. That could set the stage for an Infinity War, say, making more money at the box office than a Star Wars Episode 9. It could. It's theoretically possible. Because momentum is a real thing. So, I mean, I still don't think it will, but let's wait and see. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's see how Infinity War actually does. Let's see how good or bad it turns out, and then let's start having these conversations again. All right. Next question comes to us from Jerome Lim, who writes, what is the most times you've seen a movie in its theatrical run, and which movie was it? It was The Phantom Menace. I saw it either 18 or 19 times. I'm starting to forget. It's either 18 or 19 times. Because you got to remember, when The Phantom Menace came out, I was working in a visual effects company. And we would take and The Phantom Menace, love or hate that movie, at the time, it was the most revolutionary movie in the history of visual effects at the time. And so I remember, like, at lunchtime, me and the other people at the company would look at each other and say, staff meeting? And when we would say staff meeting, that means let's jump in the car, drive over to the mall, and watch the movie. Watch a matinee of The Phantom Menace again. Because we were just, like, completely enamored with the visual effects. Now, every time I watched the movie, I liked it less and less and less, but the visual effects never ceased to amaze me. So the movie I saw most times in theaters was The Phantom Menace. Saw about 18 or 19 times because we just kept going back as visual effects people just because we had to watch it over and over and over again and try to figure out how the hell did they do that. So that was the movie that I saw the most in theater. Francisco R. writes, the first villain for Justice League should have been Brainiac. Justice League 2, Doomsday, Justice League 3, blah, blah, blah. Again, Francisco, resist the urge that fans have to say what they should have done. It's irrelevant. If they had Brainiac, it wouldn't have made the movie any better. Because look, if you like Justice League, you like it because they did a pretty good job. Like, they did the job they did with their villain. It wouldn't have been any different if it was a different villain. They would have either done a good job with him or a bad job with him. It's just like that. That's all there is to it. Doctor Doom is a fantastic comic book villain, but guess what? He was handled wrong when they brought him to the big screen. Over and over again, they handled him wrong, so it didn't work out. So you can't just say, put Dr. Doom in and the movie would be great. Nope, it doesn't matter what character you put in there. If the writers and the director don't handle it right, it doesn't matter what character is. You can put the Joker in, it could end up being a terrible thing. There's a lot of people who don't like Jared Leto's Joker. You put your Joker in Suicide Squad, that means it'll be great. Well, a lot of people didn't like it. I did. I actually really like Jared Leto's Joker, but a lot of people didn't. So we got to resist the urge as fans to say what they should have done, because it makes no difference. It really does make no difference if they weren't going to handle the character the right way. So that's the thing we got to keep in mind. That's my point of view at any rate. Thanks a lot for the question, though. DJX3PH writes, hey, John, love your show. Thank you so much, DJ. Do you have any information on 3 months later? Last year, I heard a script was worked on, but 2017 dead silence. I know nothing about it. Not a thing. So, no, I've got no information to offer you on that. I haven't even heard anything about it, so I can't offer anything on that. But thanks so much for the question, DJ. Well, I mean, maybe me telling you that I have heard no updates on it is an answer to the question in the first place. Okay, so where did we go? I got lost here. Where was I? Oh, there we go. Okay. Next one comes to us from JZ Hen001, who writes, would you trade the DCEU for a Man of Steel trilogy? I would. Oh, yeah, I totally would. Absolutely. To me, the Man of Steel is easily the best movie that the DCEU has done. By far, no questions asked. Man of Steel is the best movie they've made. I would absolutely trade off them doing any more DCEU films and just doing a Man of Steel trilogy and then reboot the universe. I'd be totally down for that. Absolutely. I'm totally with you, Jay-Z, on that. Next one, Manuel Fernandez. I'd like to learn how to use Premiere and After Effects, but I don't have many friends who are interested in video. Any tips on or other ways to learn? Yeah, there's an online website called lynda.com. Look that up on Google, lynda.com. And that is a company that all they do is they put up tutorial videos on everything computer related and other things too. But they have extensive, really good, easy to follow along tutorials and lessons on how to use Premiere, on how to use After Effects, and how to use everything really. You name a piece of software, they have full video courses on how to use it. It costs a little bit of money to use lynda.com, but not much. Nothing compared to the benefit you're going to gain from. So lynda.com is a site, and there are others as well, but lynda.com is the one I usually go to. So check that out, to do a search for that. Should help you out a lot. Johan Aglen writes, love your show. Thank you so much. Coco opens 3 months later in Sweden. Oh, that's unfortunate. Kills any interest and turns people to downloading, in my opinion. Does translating take that long? No, translating doesn't take that long. Look, studios have specific strategies for releasing specific movies in specific territories at specific times. I don't understand it, and I certainly don't know their rationale, their strategy from movie to movie. Why you're opening a movie like Coco 3 months later in Sweden is totally beyond me, and I agree with you. I believe having these long, staggered releases does nothing but encourage piracy. I really think studios should start closing that window from when the first country it comes out in to the last country it comes out in should not be 3 months apart. It should be maybe at most be 3 weeks apart. But I agree with you, Johan. I believe it absolutely. It does encourage piracy. It's not a good move. But see it. By all means, see it. Coco is a magnificent movie, so go see that. All right, Jabin Carter just puts in a super chat. Thank you so much, Jabin. The next one comes to us from Joseph Lapp, who writes, with the release of Bright, it seemed to dig up sexual harassment accusations against Max Landis. Could this put Bright 2 on hold? Well, first of all, I have not heard of any of these allegations, so I cannot comment on that. I have met Max Landis. I've done some videos with Max Landis. All I can say is that while on camera he can be difficult and combative, the funny thing is off camera, he's a totally different guy. And he's like really attentive and nice. This is my experience with him, okay? I cannot comment on anybody else's experience with him, which may be very different from mine. I'm just saying my experience has been he seems to be very genuine, fun, laid back, enjoyable guy. Even if he's been a pain in the ass on camera sometimes, and when he puts out public posts, whatever, honestly, I think there's a bit of a facade to Max Landis, because what you see when he's writing public statements and when he's on videos and doing interviews, my experience is he's quite different when he's off camera. He's actually really laid back, a really enjoyable guy to be around. And I've had fun on the few occasions I've had to hang around him and be there. That's all I can say. But as far as the Max Landis sexual harassment allegations, I haven't read any. I haven't heard of it. So I'll go definitely read it on the news afterwards. But I don't think Max Landis owns Bright. I think the studio could simply just go out and get another writer. And I don't think anything that has to do with Max would hold up Bright 2. So I don't think that'll affect it at all. And besides, probably Bright 2 was probably written a long time ago. I mean, really, I don't know that for a fact. I'm just taking a guess, but I got a feeling it could have been written a long time ago. Okay, Jabin Carter writes, John, have you seen any Studio C Star Wars sketches? More funny than SNL, in my opinion. I can't say that I have. I've never heard of Studio C, unless I've seen their sketches and just not realized it was somebody called Studio C. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. Let's see. C.K. Gould writes, what about new Jaws film? Big fan of sharks and shark films. Not a reboot, but a continuation. I say, no one's ever going to make a continuation. They ran their continuations into the ground with Jaws. If anything, it would be a reboot. If they did another Jaws film, it would be a reboot, for sure. But, I mean, we've had no shortage of giant shark movies, right? We've had tons of giant shark movies in the last 10 years that have nothing to do with Jaws. Those all hurt the possibility of another Jaws film. But a reboot of the classic Jaws handled as a drama as opposed to an action flick sort of thing. Like, Meg's coming, and I don't know if we're going to see Jason Statham get in the water and karate kick the giant megalodon, but we'll see what happens with that. But I think if you're going to do anything with Jaws, my opinion is that the right thing to do is to reboot it and go with a reboot. All right. Henry Stevens, just last 2 questions, guys. And you know what? No, I'm out of time, but you know what? I don't care. I'm still going to go to Twitter and take some questions on Twitter once I'm done these last 2 questions. If you're still watching right now and you want to fire in some questions, follow me on Twitter and fire off some tweets. Simply start your tweet with @John Campea and fire off a tweet with a question. I will take a few Twitter questions once I get through these last 2 Super Chat questions. Henry Stevens writes, "Hey John, thank you for saying out loud my thoughts on these groups who slam Star Wars for the wrong reasons. Planet of the Apes franchise, I hope for a new sequel trilogy of Apes films. Thoughts?" Well, I kind of addressed that a little bit earlier, Henry. I don't know if we're going to get another sequel. If you've seen the movies, you know Caesar's story is done. And he was kind of the heart of the whole Apes trilogy. Not to mention, War of the Planet of the Apes was a really good movie that was loved by audiences, critics, and yet it still took a nosedive in its box office. So that's not what a studio likes to see. So I do have a feeling they might be done with it. Could they reboot it at some point? Could they fast forward 20 years and start a new trilogy maybe in 5 years that takes place 20 years after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes? Maybe that's possible. Let's wait and see what they do with that. Good question, though. All right, and the final, at least Super Chat question today comes to us from Sam Fisher writes, "Have you read Batman, The War of Jokes and Riddles?" I have not read that one yet, as a matter of fact. I haven't, the last 4 or 5 months, I haven't read much. I mean, the last Batman thing I wrote was the first run of Batman Rebirth. That was the last Batman thing I read. And I'll be honest with you, it turned me off. I did not like that Batman Rebirth story at all. Did not dig it at all. So I kind of got off the train for a while, but I'm going to probably, especially over the Christmas holidays, I'll have a lot of time. I'm going up to the Campea Ranch, my family's ranch up in Canada there. And one of the best things about being at the ranch is I just get to relax for like over a week. So I'll have my tablet, I'll have my Comixology app. I'll probably be doing some reading when I'm up there. Thanks a lot. All right. Now, let's go over and see what you guys are saying on Twitter. Let me open my Twitter feed here. I will jump down. And we will start off with this one. And this one comes to us from Blu-ray Billy, who writes, "John, are you going to review The Greatest Showman?" Yeah, I mean, it's been tough the last few days because I've been trying to do some family obligation stuff and get all my videos done. And it's been tough and I haven't done a Greatest Showman review. I can't do it today because after I'm done this video, I need to do my follow-up video, my companion video to yesterday's show, which I never got around to. And then Ann and I got to leave to go to her family's place to celebrate some early Christmas stuff because Ann and I leave tomorrow for Canada. So we got to go do our Christmas kind of get-together stuff with Ann's family today. So I'm not going to be able to do it today. I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow. I'm not going to probably do it on the... and then, is it too late? I don't know. I enjoyed Greatest Showman. But who knows? Maybe I'll get around to doing a review of it. Well, let's just wait and see. Let's see. This next one comes to us from Omar Alenzi, who writes, "John, we see Centaur Police in Bright and Fairies." I didn't see Centaur Police. Maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see it. We see fairies, but fairies aren't considered a race. Remember, in the Bright world, fairies are considered pests, like dragonflies or giant mosquitoes. They're not considered a race per se, so I wouldn't count that. Let's see. This one from Florian Stumper writes, "Hey, John, Merry Christmas." Thank you so much, Florian. Merry Christmas to you, too. Let's see. Bordeaux Joshua writes, "John, Rocky 1 or Creed, which one's better?" Rocky 1. I love Creed. Love it. Rocky 1's better, in my opinion. Let's see. This one comes to us from Harishako, who writes, "Justice League has only been out for a month. How come it's already released in digital HD in Korea?" No idea. I didn't know it was released in digital HD in Korea. I have no idea about that. That seems pretty stupid, but yeah, I didn't know about that. I'd have to look into that to see if that's true. Let's see. What else have you guys been sending in? This one comes to us from Austin, Maine, who writes, "John, more shoehorned. Maz in The Last Jedi or R2 and 3PO in Rogue One?" I'm going to go Maz in The Last Jedi. Everybody knows I really love Star Wars Last Jedi, but I have some issues with the film, and that is not the least of them. I mean, that's definitely one of them, was the way Maz Kanata was kind of shoehorned in that. Let's see. Tim O'Kong says, recasting Leia is even more insulting. No, you are dead fucking wrong. You are my brother in film fandom. You're entitled to your opinion, but you are dead fucking wrong as far as I'm concerned. It is the ultimate spit in the face. Ultimate spit in the face to Carrie Fisher to have her pour most of her life being Princess Leia to us. And now we're approaching the final film that Princess Leia is going to be in, and you want to throw the character away? Everything that Carrie Fisher has, with this character that Carrie Fisher has given so much of herself to, and all that kind of stuff, and all the work and sacrifices she made so she could come back for these new films, you want to take all of that work and throw it away? And you think that's honoring Carrie Fisher? Are you fucking out of your mind? That is fucking crazy. And the first person who would tell you you're crazy is Carrie Fisher herself. Carrie Fisher, if she were here today, if you read anything about her life and understood her at all, you know she would be the first person to say you're crazy. You think the way to honor Carrie Fisher is to go, oh, this character that you crafted and you put so much of yourself into, and we're about to take that character across the finish line in episode 9. Nah, we're going to throw away. We're going to take your life's work, Carrie, and we're going to throw it away. Bye! This episode 9 was supposed to be a big hallmark moment for the character of Leia. Oh, no, now we're not going to give it to the character. Nope. This character that you spent your lifetime building, Carrie, we're not going to give her her big movie. We're not going to give it to her now. We're going to throw her away. You think that's honoring Carrie Fisher? That is insulting. What you do to honor Carrie Fisher is you go, we lost Carrie tragically. Carrie can't carry the ball now across the finish line on her own. Don't worry, Carrie. We've got your back. We will not let all the work and energy and blood, sweat, and tears and love and passion that you spent the better part of your life giving us this Leia character, we're not going to let her just disappear. We've got you. We've got your back. We'll pick up the ball for you, Carrie. Don't you sweat it. Don't you worry about it. We've got you. We will pick up the ball for you. We will, in your name, to honor you, we'll get an act like another high-profile great actress who will dedicate the performance to you, and we will bring this character, Leia, to give her the send-off she deserves because you put all that blood, sweat, and tears and energy and effort into it. Anything less than that, anything remotely less than that is a spit in the face of Carrie Fisher's legacy and of the character of Princess Leia. Anything less than that is a spit in the face of everything that they've worked so hard to give us this character, and now the character's supposed to have their big prime movie, their big prime send-off. Han got his send-off. Luke gets his send-off. We need to get Leia's send-off. And now we're going to go to Carrie Fisher's memory and say, Tuh, if you're not going to be here to do it, Carrie, F you. We're not going to carry on the character. We're going to throw the character away. We're going to say she dies off screen. That is insulting to her legacy, that is insulting to her memory, and that is insulting to the character that we've spent generations living with. Leia deserves her send-off. Carrie Fisher has earned the right to have us pick up the ball for her and not let all of her work go to waste just because she couldn't be here to do it herself. Come on, man. As fans, we should have her back. We need to have her back. Say, don't worry, Carrie, we got your back. Don't worry about it. We'll make sure this gets done. We know you can't do it, but we'll make sure this work that you started will get done. That's like saying of a master builder who had a dream of building a castle, and they get 9/10 of the way to finishing the castle, and the builder dies. What do you think is the best way to honor that builder? Tear it down. Tear it down. He couldn't finish it. He couldn't finish it on his own. Let's tear it down. No, the way you honor that builder is to bring in the best architects in the world to finish his dream for him. That's how you honor the builder. You don't honor the builder by going, oh, what a shame. He spent 20 years building this castle and only had 4 more bricks left to lay. Oh, well, bulldoze it. Bulldoze it down, brush it away, let's pretend it doesn't exist, sweep it away, let's get it off the beach and act like it wasn't here in the first place. You think that's the way to honor the builder? You think that's the way to honor Carrie Fisher? Oh, damn, Carrie Fisher came so close to bringing this Leia character to her true fruition in episode 9. Oh, well, sweep the character away. Let's pretend she's just not here anymore. I don't get that line of logic whatsoever. Now, look, I ain't mad at you because I know you say that out of a place that your motivation is that you do want Carrie Fisher's memory honored. So I'm not mad at you because we're on the same side. We both want Carrie Fisher's memory honored. So on that page, we're totally on the same side. So I'm not mad at you because your motivation, your heart's in the right place. You want Carrie Fisher's legacy honored. And for that, I respect it completely. However, the way you see honoring Carrie Fisher, I believe is ass backwards thinking. Ass backwards thinking. You don't tear down the builder's castle when he was 4 bricks away from completing it just because he's not the one who can lay the final 4 bricks and say that that's the way we're going to honor him, by tearing it down and clearing it off the beach. You don't honor Carrie Fisher by tearing down this character now because she's not the one to be able to carry it across the finish line. That's not how you honor Carrie Fisher. You honor her by, in her name, bringing in a new actress and finishing off the series. That's how you honor her. And anyway, as you can tell, I feel very passionate about that. But anyway, that's just me. We all have different opinions. I'm very passionate about mine, and you may be very passionate about yours, and that's fine. We're still all on the same team. But yeah, I just believe the way we accomplish that. You and I both want to honor Carrie Fisher. But I absolutely 100% believe that the best way to dishonor her is to throw away the work she's done just because she's not here herself personally to be able to carry the ball across the finish line. And for us to stand there and look at the ball 3 inches away from the finish line and not be willing to ourselves go down, pick it up, and carry it across the finish line for her, to me, that is the insult. That's the insult. And I know you don't want to insult her, and you know I don't want to insult her. We just have different views of how to do it, but that's totally how I see it on that. Anyway, that will do it for me, guys, for this installment of this Saturday holiday installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being a lot more of you guys here today than I thought there would be on the Christmas weekend Saturday. So glad you guys took some time out to hang out here and we all talk about movies together. So glad you guys were able to do that. Listen, guys, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber. Also, make sure you click the thumbs up button, leave a thought and opinion in the comments section below, and make sure you follow me on social media, simply at John Campea. That will do it for me for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.